Welcome to the podcast, everyone. We've got here Erin from Chicago. Thanks so much for joining. How are you doing today?
Doing so good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, could you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I'm Erin. I'm from Chicago. I'm a real estate broker. I like to call myself more of like a real estate consultant because I feel like I'm more than just someone that helps you buy and sell homes.
Mhm.
I own property. I help people with projects, renovation. Doing a renovation project myself right now.
Oh, sweet.
But yeah, that's basically the gist.
Cool. And tell me, when did you start and how did you get into the field?
Yeah, so I've been in the business this summer, for 10 years. I was in real estate kind of adjacent to it before that when I was in college. I was renting apartments, but it was like the world's worst job. I tried really, really hard not to get into real estate because my whole family's in real estate. I was trying to forge my own path, but then realized that this was a good path to follow. So I started on my brother's commercial team. I was a server and a bartender for many, many years because I graduated college during the recession downturn, and it was hard to get a job. But he lured me onto his team with no nights and weekends because commercial brokers, hard stop at 5 p.m. and they say no to Saturdays and Sundays. And I was like, that sounds good. Did that for about 3 years ish, and then decided that like my people were looking to buy residential real estate, and so I kind of jumped into the residential side. My company at Properties has a commercial team and a residential, so it was easy, seamless. And I still do a bit of commercial. My dad's been in the business since the late 90s. My brother is older than me, and he got into the business with him. And so, it's in my blood. My mom was a broker at some point. My uncle was a broker, kind of maybe
Wow,
still is.
that's a
Uh,
family right there. That's a family affair.
it's, it's truly in my blood, I guess. So,
Nah, that's cool. That's cool. I love that story. And it's funny that you said that you tried to get out, you weren't, you wanted to forge your own path and it just, yeah, it just grabbed you, right? It's like, nope, you're gonna stay within the family and you're gonna,
yeah.
and you're doing a great job. I applaud your success and love
Thanks.
your videos and content. And so tell me, I guess, in this journey of you, becoming a broker, consultant, what have you learned? What are some huge takeaways that you've learned or challenges that you're like, oh, won't do that again? Or what worked and you just kept, drilling at it?
I've learned so much over the years. I'm the type of person that learns by doing. I'm a visual learner. I have
Hmm.
to like physically do something for it to like click in my brain. Um, but some things that I think are clutch in this business is just, I honestly, it doesn't even have to do with the business. It's just be yourself, because people will gravitate to who you are and trust you more when you're just doing what you know how to do,
Mm.
and being genuine to yourself. When I first got in the business, I would cover my tattoos. I took out my nose ring. Um,
Okay.
and I would dress a little bit differently. And like commercial real estate is a little different. But then finally, I just was like, I am older now and more seasoned, but I feel like the more I am myself, the more people are like, oh, you are familiar, or like you feel comfortable and honest, and I like that about you. And so I think that's a big one. And also just, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of a good way to say this.
You're trying to
Just
be polished in how you're gonna say it.
no, I mean, things that I've learned is like once during the pandemic, people stopped going to closings, and totally get it. Everything was kind of like remote for
Mhm.
everyone else. Like attorneys went remote, but I one time didn't go to a closing for a first time home buyer, and they got like really upset with me. And like I always let people know, like, I'm here for you. I'm available. I just like couldn't drive out to something came up, and like time wise, and closings are long. And anyway, I will never not go to a first time home buyer closing ever again. I will show up every single time because that like hurt their feelings. And I don't ever want my clients to end this process of the biggest purchase of your life and have any sort of icky feelings about me. So that was a lesson I learned real quick.
You still remember that, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean it was a couple years ago, so it was like 2020. I mean it was probably 2023 at this point, not that long ago. But it was kind of like the norm for people not to show up to closings, and I was like, that's tacky. I'm not going to be tacky.
No, I
So
love
now
that.
you want to hold your client's hands the entire time, and you can't just stop at the end.
Right, because that's the expectation. And I think sometimes,
Yeah.
as professional like consultants, we don't know what that expectation is without asking them. Sometimes, I would have to say similarly, it's hard to be able to, deliver and give them what they want when sometimes you don't know what that is. And, it's just kind of keeping that open communication. So I hear you. I hear you about that for sure.
There's something about learning from your mistakes, and I'm not afraid to say that I've made mistakes. And it's all a learning process. And you know, besides being yourself, being genuine, being honest, which is such a crucial part of this business, also just being there, even after closing, always being there for your clients, which I
Absolutely.
am. I started that whole "I got a guy" thing because people are texting me constantly about, you got a contractor, you got a plumber, you got an electrician. I'm like, yes.
Right, right. And I think that's even where I started this podcast, kind of with that same thinking, because people need help, right? And different facets, different things, and different needs. And, you've created this relationship with these clients or prospects, and, they start to trust you, right? And then you've developed that relationship. And then from there, it's like, hey, I need, do you know this person? Or, right? So I get that as well. So that's why I kind of decided to, start podcasts and just have a bunch of, experts to kind of be able to guide them. I've got a tax guy, even estate planner, like that's part of their
Ooh,
journey.
that's a good idea. Yeah, I
Yeah,
should talk to my assistant. That's a good idea.
yeah. That's a really good one because a lot of people are on the fence and hesitant to open that discussion of, death is not an easy thing to talk about. But when people have assets, it's super important to plan and take care of
For
that
sure.
because when you go through that life stage, you're already kind of going through all your emotions, your stress, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, and then, not that you have to fight with other family members, but it's, it kind of becomes a thing. The children of, the parents, look at baby boomers, right? They're just sitting on tons of equity, right? Right. So it's
Yep.
kind of like, well, how do you lower that risk and stress at that time? It's planning. It's putting like, getting, everyone together and just figuring that out before you have to go through all those health issues and, random stuff. Look, I'm just rambling
Yeah,
right
you don't
now.
really. I'm with you. I'm with you. I totally understand, and I'm like preaching to people about doing that now. Like, put your stuff in a trust so that, God forbid, something happens, your biggest asset, your home, is going to the right place.
Totally.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
So, Erin, tell me about like what's going on in the local market in Chicago the past, 6 months, 3 months. What's it kind of looking like over there?
So the Chicago market has stayed busy.
Okay.
There, I say this to all of my buyers or clients in general that like Chicago doesn't have like an inventory problem. Chicago's a large city, but a lot of the inventory is either in neighborhoods that are not as sought after, if you will, or it's like old home stock, or it's old housing stock that needs updates. So it's inventory is not the problem. It's things that are in neighborhoods that people want to live and updated. There was a lot of building in the early aughts, so there's tons of condos. Not as many single. I mean, there's a lot of single family houses in the city, but it's more on the like outskirts of the city, like in the heart. They get they're more expensive, $1 million homes. But even with that, like there's I guess I'm going to say there's like two things here. There's a lot
Okay.
of inventory,
Hmm.
But then there's like the inventory that's in the neighborhoods people want to live in, we'll just say.
Hmm.
It's like few and far between. So when something pops up, it's like a cattle call. Um, there'll be 40 people through an open house, and it's
Wow.
still highest multiple offers. It's kind of crazy, honestly. I just listed a single family brick bungalow in my neighborhood up in Avondale, and I've gotten like 25 emails already. I'm doing an open house tonight. I'm doing an open house tomorrow. I am pretty sure I should get multiple offers by Sunday, um, which is good for my client. You know, he loves that.
Yeah.
But the market is still very hot. It's kind of crazy. I read a lot of things that like no other cities like that right now. I mean, there's a couple
Interesting.
other cities that are probably like that, but there's a lot of cities that are cooling, if you will, and Chicago hasn't quite cooled.
You're right. You're right. I'm up to date with certain other markets as well, and it's very, very true. Lots of cooling in Florida, lots of cooling in Texas. Yeah, even Cali is kind of cooling as well in certain areas.
Yeah, I sold my neighbor's house and went like grossly over asking price first weekend. I sold
Really?
another house and yeah, like so over asking price. But also, and then you like don't know where people are at in their hunt. Have they lost like 5 houses already? Maybe they're like just like I need a house. I want a house. This is exactly where I want to live. I'm gonna do everything I can to get this house, and I feel like that's what those people were doing. Um, and then I had another house up in a totally different neighborhood where I got a lot of people through the open houses. I only got one offer. It was asking price, so it was fine. There were like chatter of more offers. And then obviously I have this listing that we'll see this weekend how it goes. I think it's going to be quite competitive. And then I've got another one that's hopefully going to be also competitive. It's like, who knows? Like next week, the whole market could change.
That's one thing I love about real estate. I get kind of bored in my like day, like the work that I used to do before it was, very like property management, there's just like very, I don't want to say kind of dull, but a little dull because you're just doing the same type of operation type of thing, maintenance, stuff like that. But real estate, I'm all excited and I'm like, wow, it changes. It's so dynamic. It's fluid. Some people that don't like,
Yeah.
like need stability, probably not the best type of environment to be in.
No.
Right, right. Like the stress levels are real high. It's like, oh my goodness, what is happening?
Yes.
But it's a little exciting
I
and
saw someone post something that was like, the real estate agents in your life wake up every day unemployed. So just keep that in mind.
oh my gosh, that's
I
so
know you
funny.
get a commission check and it's like, where's the next one? I don't know.
But I would have to say it is kind of challenging. Would you say it's challenging for someone starting off now as an agent? Like, what would that look like if you didn't? I know it's hard to think of that. If you didn't have your family and that knowledge and like growing up in the environment to start now, what would you do in the next six months?
I mean, I think it's a hard business to break into. If you're a social person, like I feel like half the battle is like networking with people that you think need to buy and sell. Everyone needs a place to live.
Right.
So there's always opportunity, even if you're just doing renters. I think, listen, I've been trying to find someone who wants to work with me for a long time. Like, have I been looking very hard? Maybe not, but someone, if you got in the business, you start by getting renters, renters turn into buyers, buyers turn into sellers, sellers buy small places that need bigger places, their families grow, things change, get new jobs, make more money.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were getting in the business right now, I would say just like network your sphere of influence,
Uh-huh.
renters, first time buyers, and just like hit the ground running and be annoying and talk about real estate. Always be like, "Did you know this agent?" And it's annoying, but like people will start thinking about you when they need something. So,
Mm-hmm.
and also hosting open houses, going to open houses, networking with other agents.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like sit at a bar and like talk to people.
That's hilarious.
That's how I used to sit at bars all the time, like
Did you?
like, like people.
Hey, it works. You're just talking story and having convos, you know? Cool. So tell me a little bit about neighborhoods in Chicago, certain areas that, maybe cater a little more to young professionals, other investors, or even families. You got some ideas about that?
Sure. I think it kind of depends on your vibe. I'll start with the young professionals. I am no longer a young professional, but if I was, I would
You're no
probably
longer a
choose to
young
live
professional? What do you mean?
like a parent, and I don't go out as much anymore, and I am a professional though. No, probably, if I was, in my 20s and single and whatever, I would probably live in and around the West Loop. Like, I think the West Loop is a little saturated and super, super expensive, but there's so much to do over there. I would choose to live in like River West, just the neighborhood just northwest of the West Loop, personally, because you're close to downtown, you're close to the Blue Line, you're close to the highway. There's cool restaurants. There's still that kind of like walkability to fun stuff, bars and stuff. But then you can get down to the West Loop really quickly. And then Logan Square and Avondale a little quiet. Well, Logan Square is not that quiet, but Avondale's a little bit quieter. Logan Square a little bit more lively. The farmers market is awesome.
Oh,
Being able to walk to that. Again, the Blue Line. I've always been a West Side Blue Line kind of person, so I'm a little bit biased to that. On the other end of things, Andersonville is really queer, really family friendly, and really fun. You're closer to the lake. You got tons of good bars and restaurants. The thing I love about Andersonville every time I'm up there is that there's not like big box. Like, it's all mom and pop.
oh, I
Or
love
pop and
that.
pop if you want. It's small. It's small independent businesses,
Mom and
which
mom or dad
you
and
know
dad.
is nice because and mom and mom, yeah, I mean, there's first women and children first bookstore, like
Mm.
it's like a Portlandia skit. Um, so anyway, it's lovely up there. And then like families, it kind of just depends. Like, is school going to be a priority for you? Do you care which? Are you trying to get into a Chicago public school that like fits your vibe, or are you going to send your kid to a private school? If you're sending your kid to a private school, then it doesn't matter where you live. Um, but I think that Bucktown is lovely. Price of homes is higher. If you want a single family house, you're going to be paying over $1 million. If you want a condo, which obviously city living is, you can live in a condo and have plenty of space, and you can live in a condo and have plenty of space and still have all of the things you want of a walkable neighborhood. You could get something anywhere from 550 to a million. Um, Again, it depends what you want. Do you want a small boutique building? Do you want a loft building? Do you want an elevator? There's so many things.
Right.
So I think families can live anywhere in the city. Young professionals, a little more pockets where it's livelier. There's more bars and restaurants is kind of how I would look at it personally.
Oh, no, that's great. And
I hope that answered your question.
yeah, no, it's perfect. I think that gives the audience insights of, neighborhoods to look for and search for, and possibly reach out to you and, talk about what that might look like. Uh,
Got it. I think good neighborhoods for investors. It's again, it's so dependent on the building. Are you looking for something that is value add? Do you want to do the work? Are you looking for turnkey? They're literally everywhere. You can find them on the south side, north side, west side. It doesn't matter. I personally like to invest in neighborhoods that are just around the like hip hot areas where like renters want to live. So I usually focus on things that are near trains because that's always going to be an area where people want to live for commuting. Personally, we just bought a building in Avondale, and that's my neighborhood, so I'm like all in on Avondale. But you can find deals, value add and turnkey, kind of like anywhere in the city. I know it's like kind of a non-answer, but it just depends what you're looking for. There's so much nuance to it.
mm, cool. Could you tell me a little bit about a client that is a memorable one from your experience, something that stands out? Yeah, go for it.
All right, I got one that I can quickly get in my brain that I think is a good one. I connected with a client who actually hasn't bought or sold anything yet, but I'm going to call her a client because I know eventually she wants to buy something. And her parents got divorced and were living in LA. They sold their house in LA, and mom was going to move to Chicago to be closer to her grandkids. So she put me in contact with her mom, who is awesome. I really enjoyed working with her. And we saw this one place. She had, requirements, parking, and an elevator building. She's in her 70s. And we saw this one place, and it had another offer on it, and it was already kind of like down the line, and we were like, ah, shit, we lost. We were too slow. We couldn't get it going quick enough because we were waiting on the sale of her house. So there were some things we couldn't really present until we knew this sale was going through. And we both were like texting back and forth about it, being like, that was a really good one. And then she texted me and she was like, let me go back. The unit number was like the same unit number that her mom had a apartment in or something, or her mom's birthday, or it was like something that connected to her mom. And so she texted me and she was like, I think you should just like reach out to the broker and just see if there's anything. And on top of that, we were going to be a cash purchase, which is obviously great. You don't have to deal with a lender. Anyway, I started like politely badgering the agent, who was also very nice, and something happened with the other buyer and it fell through, and my client swooped in and got it. And honestly, I appreciate that kind of persistence and the collaboration between me probably being a little bit annoying to the broker and her being really persistent with me. And we collaborated and we got her that spot. And it is a great unit in Lincoln Park. It's got an incredible view. It's like a tree house up there. And she's really, really happy. And she texts me every now and then, just tells me how stoked she is. And then we talk about getting martinis.
Oh, this has been great talking with you so far, and I wanted to know, you mentioned a little something about your purchases and investments. Tell me a little bit more of that. When did you get into the real estate market yourself as an investor, and where are you at with your portfolio?
So like I said earlier, the whole family's in the game, so I've been lucky enough to own property with my family for a while, managing the properties. I was kind of just like the lowest on the totem pole, I guess, just being the property manager, renting apartments, doing crap that no one wants to do. But then recently, my wife and I bought a building in our neighborhood, a 3-unit, which was marketed as a 2-unit, and then we went in, and there was a front door and a back door to the basement, and it was like 8-foot ceilings, and we're like, this is definitely a unit. And so that was a boo-boo, I think, on the seller's broker's part, because we got it for a steal for a 3-unit. It needed a ton of work, and it was the ugliest duckling on the block, but we did a lot of work to it, got it rented, have had great renters for the last 4 years, and just having something it's very minimal passive income. It's not making me rich by any means, but I've invested in my neighborhood. I've made something more beautiful. I've kept the building as it's supposed to be. It wasn't knocked down to be a new construction house, which I am more pro renovation than new construction personally.
Okay.
And basically revitalizing it. And like Chicago has, as I spoke about earlier, a huge amount of housing, but some of the stuff's in bad condition. So I like finding something that's old, needs the value add, you make it more beautiful, you get renters in there, and they're paying your mortgage down for you. So we keep it for 5 years, we keep it for 10 years, we keep it for 20 years. Its value is always going to be there. And I say this to my clients, and I say it to myself. It's a bank account you can't touch. You put that money into that, you let it sit there. It's like the stock market, but the stock market is a little woo-woo for me. Real estate is like a real tangible thing that you have.
Hmm.
So bought that, sold a couple buildings with the family to move on to other things. And then just recently, my wife, my brother, and sister-in-law and I all bought a 4-unit building that we couldn't quite make sense of how much work needed to be done to do apartments and to like hold on to it. My brother and I both want to have buildings to hold like long term, because I feel like that's how you make money in real estate, is just hold it.
Hmm.
But I think what we're going to end up doing is we're going to turn them into condos. Since I've been selling real estate and the last 4 or 5 years since the pandemic, there's nothing that's under a certain price point that's nice. Like you can find condos under $400,000, but they're dated or just like yucky. There's nothing cool about them, and that's fine for some people. I'm seeing that, I'll speak on behalf of millennials. They want things that are turnkey. They don't really want to do the work. We've had to do enough work in our lives. We're going to make cute, small, affordable condos, but everything's going to be brand new, aesthetically pleasing. There's not going to be any gray. There's not going to be any beige. Well, beige is kind of coming back, so maybe I take that back. But you know, like the early aughts, it was like a very like orangey gray vibe. No, orangey beige, not gray. Gray is now millennial braid. Gray. Take that all out. But we're gonna turn it into condos. We're hoping to list in the spring, and that'll be the first time we're doing that. So hopefully we can turn a little bit of a profit and turn that into something else down the line. But the redevelopment part of it is exciting to me because I want to think I'm a creative person, but I don't know if I really am wired that way. But it's my way of seeing something and the potential of it and then designing it, which my wife does all the design. But I just say, yes, that one. And co-sign it. But she gets all the design credit. But anyway, that's what we're working on right now, and then hopefully we can find something to hold on to. The goal is to do one, renovate and sell, renovate and hold, renovate and sell, renovate and hold. That's the goal.
Well, that's the strategy that you're wanting.
For us right now, yeah. Like, again, you don't get rich off a 3-unit apartment building monthly. It's someone paying down your mortgage for you, which is great. Mm-hmm. But you know, if you do the work and someone wants an investment property, then you can make some money.
Right, right. No, that's great. I think that's fantastic, and um, it sounds like you're doing well in terms of, you know, getting into the game. You're not afraid, you know, kind of a good segue. Do you,
A little afraid.
are you?
I would say a little afraid.
Okay. Little afraid. Okay, well, a little afraid, but you're still doing it. You're still taking action, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's cool. I think that's a great idea. And you said a key thing, affordability, you know, and with millennials and turnkey, I get that. I feel that's a very important part, especially to market and cater to millennials, because things are a lot different from, you know, times where baby boomers walking into homes at, you know, very inexpensive, right? $100,000. And now, you know, like in Hawaii, here's an example. In Hawaii, there's somebody I was interviewing, and I said, "Oh, how much did you buy it at?" And it was like 150. And I asked, "How is it now?" He's like, "Well, it's over $1.1 million." I was like, "Oh, wow. That's great." You know, appreciation in Hawaii and California is crazy. So it's harder market for definitely millennials to get into. Very, very different.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
For
right?
sure.
Yeah.
And like, I think that, you know, buying something that you can afford, and even if it's not a forever home. It doesn't have to be your forever home, especially if it's a condo. Like, buy it and use it as a stepping stone to get something bigger in a neighborhood you want to live in more. Buy a house or whatever you want to do. Use like baby steps. Like, you're going to be paying $2,500 in rents. Do you have a little nest egg of cash that you can buy a condo, and then you're paying maybe less than $2,500 in mortgage versus rent? and you're also building equity. Again, it's a bank account you can't touch. Just you're doing this thing, you're living in it, you're enjoying it, and also it's helping you build some wealth potentially.
Right. No, I love that. And, I think what I've also thought for people that live in very expensive cities like Los Angeles or Honolulu or even New York, right? How can these professionals build their real estate portfolio? They could be creative and invest in different cities like Chicago, right? That's an
Totally.
easy win, right? The price point is a little less, but it can
For sure.
cover the mortgage because a lot of the cities it won't cash flow. The numbers just don't math, right?
Mhm.
But certain
Right.
cities like Texas, states, it allows for people to still build their portfolio, even though it might not be in their city. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. I saw something on a Instagram. It's like Instagram, podcast, YouTube,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
That the Midwest is like the place to invest in right now. Obviously, Chicago is much different than like Indianapolis,
Right,
but there's you can find deals. I think the way to find deals is being willing to do the work,
right. And
like rent work.
do you find how is Airbnbs and short-term rentals in Chicago? What does that kind of look like?
I don't deal with it. I have some colleagues, friends that have Airbnbs,
Hmm.
and they do really well in the summer, but it's kind of, bleak in the winter. I'm sure they still get bookings every now and then, but it's a little more work than I'm willing to put in. I'd rather do like the big jobs of kitchens, bathrooms, plumbing, roofs, tuck pointing, and then just like have a renter every month and know that I'm good for 12 months at least.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't have time and capacity to deal with Airbnb, so it's not really my specialty.
Fair, that's fair. To each their own. You like long-term renters. Yeah. Cool. So, what would you tell someone that's kind of on the fence, nervous based on, you know, current state of markets and inflation and high mortgage rates and uncles telling them not to do it and on the news, what do you tell those potential buyers that they want to, but there's all this noise that just, clutters their thinking and it's really a lot of noise. So I find it is a hindrance for these people. What do you think? What kind of conversations do you have?
I literally had this conversation last night that like these people were like, "Oh, I could probably start looking next year," but we were looking at a property, and they were like, "I was like, you should you should buy a home that you like and you are ready to buy."
Hmm.
And by ready to buy, I mean it checks all your boxes. Um, Actually, let me back that up. I think that people should, if they have a little bit of cash saved for a down payment, buy when you're ready and when it feels right on the inside in your gut. Because the market's always going to fluctuate. The interest rates seemingly are always going to fluctuate. And we have to keep in mind that our parents bought houses at 18% interest. Like a
Right.
different generation had it way worse. And if you buy today and it's at like, let's just say 6.5, in theory, the rates could go down and you can refinance. The worst case scenario is they go up and they're going to keep going up. But I don't know what's about to happen. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict the future.
Don't.
Today's market is not tomorrow. No. I don't know what our government's going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what tariffs are going to do. I don't know. Today the rates are in the sixes, and that's better than it was previously in the sevens. So if you buy today and the rates go down a point, you can refinance.
Hmm.
You might have more value in your house, and you
Hmm.
might have an opportunity to save some money. So if you see something you can afford and you like let it roll.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's some good advice, and yeah, I think for a first-time home buyer, it's overwhelming, right? And there's a lot of like it's a big move, right? Like it's I speak with people all the time, and they give me oh, it's such a big commitment, and ooh, the interest rates are so high, right? Like, yeah, yeah. Then I ask, how much interest rate are you paying on your rent? They're like, oh,
100%.
right. So it kind of clicks a little, but you know, there's value in owning property. It does have risk, but to what you were saying, everyone will always need a place to stay. And it will be one of your biggest investments each month. Out of your paycheck, it's
Mhm.
going to be the highest, right? So it's either you rent or you buy. Those are two options. Or you just couch surf, whatever that
Mhm.
is, if you got some good friends or whatnot. But
How could you?
yeah, so yeah, some good points. I think it's going to be helpful for the
Yeah,
audience.
yeah. Get into it when you got a little bit of cash, and like I said, it's baby steps. It's building wealth. Um, it's security. Like you don't have to worry about a landlord like jacking your rent up on you.
Mm.
Your taxes might fluctuate, but you're locked into at least a 7 year interest rate. I had a client just lock in at 5.99 on a 5 year arm, and it's like, hell yeah.
Right. That's good. That's good. Yeah, there's all these different strategies, and I think that's where clients need to, get educated, have professionals in their corner that, show and guide them what that might look like because it's all very overwhelming. So, uh, yeah. So, any final thoughts, for the audience based on kind of what we spoke about, and any last words or takeaways for the audience?
Yeah, sure. Chicago's an excellent city. You should move here. Winters aren't that bad anymore with global warming.
Has it changed?
It's definitely milder. I mean, there's cold snaps. Trust me. There's at least 2 weeks every winter where you're like, "Get me out of here." But it's not that bad. It's not snowing that much, and honestly, it's kind of fun in the winter. You get together with your community. You drink some whiskey. You watch some sports. You like hang out and just hibernate a little bit.
Watch
And
a
then in
little
the
hockey,
summer, it's
right?
like the greatest place.
Watch a little hockey.
Yeah, I mean, Blackhawks have quite the following. I'm not a big hockey person. I'm more basketball, baseball, but we're a big sports town. Our sports teams are not very good right now, but we take it pretty serious. And I rode my bike down to watch a movie in Millennium Park, and we rode the Lakeshore Path the whole way. Anyone that talks shit about Chicago has literally never taken this like euphoric bike ride on a beautiful summer night
Mm-hmm.
on the lake, and it's just like the most majestic
Mm-hmm.
place on earth in the summer.
So beautiful. I love that
Yeah,
city. It's
yeah,
phenomenal.
it's
Mm,
the best.
it really is.
Shy till I die.
Right? Are you gonna live there until you
Yeah,
die? So that's your city forever?
maybe. I mean, maybe, but I do love this place. It is home
Good for young professionals, right? Families.
for sure. It's affordable. It's welcoming. You can make friends everywhere. It's great.
What
It's a
about
great city.
job
I
market?
highly recommend
How about the job
living in
market
Chicago.
there? Do you know about the job?
Well, I've never actually been in the job market. I was a server and a bartender, and now I'm a realtor. So I don't think I've ever interviewed for a real job. So I don't really know, but I know that Google's building a brand new office, and they already have an office here. There's some big companies here, and JB Pritzker has done some things for the state. And I don't really know much about the job market, but there are plenty of young folks that are moving.
Sweet.
The influx of like the Big Ten colleges into Chicago, they come.
Sweet. No, I love it. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, Erin. If you like this podcast, please subscribe. And if you're trying to reach out to Erin, I'll drop in the info underneath. Thanks so much. You take care.
Thank you.